What's going on, everybody? You are listening to the ESPN PRod Pod. This is the podcast that goes behind the scenes on the content you love, the people that create it, and everything in between. My name is Jon McLeod. Got to give a shout out, as you know, as always, to my amazing producer, Kiki. She's absolutely awesome, and I got to give her some love every time I get a chance. Today is a special day. You want to know why it's a special day? Because we got the Queen of New York in the building. When I tell you she's a game changer, she's a game changer. When I tell you you hand the ball to her in the fourth quarter, you hand the ball to her. She has been in every single conversation and been uplifting Black voices since before you knew what you were talking about. Today, we have the Queen herself, the Queen of New York, Raina Kelley. Hey, Raina, how you doing?
Hey, so nice to, oh my God, I love that intro. All I need to do is add a Whitney song and that's my jam. Get a little moves going. Yeah,
Go.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It is an honor to have you. We have watched your work and your support, not just in the Black community, but for women. And you weren't just someone who stayed behind the article or stayed behind your opinion. You went into the community and you raised your voice and you took action.
Okay.
I want to let's get the nuance out the way. You are the editor-in-chief of Andscape, formerly the Undefeated.
Yes.
What does your day consist of?
Okay. So today, let's just use today. It's like, right. So we have to figure out how to report the news, but also to report the myriad of micro and macro aggressions that accrue. It's like we have to be on the lookout, right? That's sort of, and then I'm working on, this is a ridiculous day. So that's what I'm gonna use today. I'm working on a quote book for the Andscape book imprint with Disney Publishing. And it's just inspirational quotes from around the Andscape universe. And what else? We're going to talk to music a little bit about our next album. It's a lot, but it's great. Like it's a lot, but people say this a lot, but it's truly a blessing. You know, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
At a minimum, it's what I asked for.
No, I can appreciate that. When I hear the name Andscape, I've never heard it before in my life.
Good, because we made it up. Yeah, good. I'm glad you never heard it because we made it up.
Excellent. Yeah.
Good.
Can you take us back to the day to the development of the word, the name, and the meaning behind it?
Well, okay. So first, before we even got to that room, we had to do all the legal and the dot the I's and cross the T's of it. You need to own your own name, right? In a way that is not, often thought about, right? You can't just name it, RainaKelley.com. You got to see who owns that. Does it mean something dirty in another language? Like there's that. And then it narrows down to about 11 acceptable words. And you realize, you know what? We're going to make up a word because we want to pour meaning into it. So like two things are happening at the same time. We're trying to figure out what our new name was going to be because we were going to expand all across Walt Disney. And then we were trying to figure out what kind of meaning that new name had to hold. Mm-hmm. And that's where things to me got the most interesting, right? It's not a matter, suddenly we realized we were in this new moment, right? It's not a matter of whether or not we are defeated or undefeated. The question of is, and that's not dismissing the name because the name is awesome, but what it's talking about is who's asking? Who is asking? And do we care? And so the point of it is we make the culture. So let us take responsibility for that making of the culture. It's not about we built this country anymore. It's about we make this country and we make this culture, right? Whole things spin across the diaspora. Things that you literally have seen made famous because LA gangs wore them are now flooding the runways in Milan and Paris. Where did loose fitting clothes start? I mean, it's just, we needed to be here to tell all these stories from our own POV. I'm probably screaming, but I get like crazy about it. So we wanted a name that we could hold all the stories we wanted to tell and express the fact that we are not monolithic. So we wanted to make sure we get all those opinions out, because we need to define what inclusive means. We need to show what we want to be for ourselves and our audience. So we just wanted to make sure the and is including as many opinions, right? Oh, you like mountain climbing, which I mean, I do. We got some for you, like for real, we do. Listen to this team change in this game right here. Are you into this? Oh, we got this for you too. And then across the widest possible scape, you know, the widest possible view you can take is pretty much from the top of the Walt Disney Company, right? One of the largest, most fantastic storytellers in the world.
Yeah.
So, and then that you end up with Andscape, right? Just a place, an inclusive, safe place for us to be us. And by the way, I get this a lot. Us is us and allies. I mean, us is out. I mean, if you're here out of curiosity, if you're here out of interest, if you're here out of love and kindness, then you are more than welcome. If you are not, you will find that the content doesn't suit you. So, you know, kind of takes care of itself.
I love that. And what I'd also like for you to get into, if you can explain and describe for the viewers and the listeners, is into that. What is your North Star when you start to build the content and everything that comes along with Andscape?
I think my North Star remains the Undefeated, right? That was the first impossible thing that we did. We had to tell a differentiated Black sports story in the middle of the largest, most successful sports organization in the history of sports organizations, right? And they already do a beautiful job of presenting athletes, athleticism, all of the concerns and everywhere that touches. And we needed to differentiate, right? One, to be seen, second, to be useful, and third, because what's the point of doing something somebody else does, right? That's no fun. And it irritates everybody. So and this is where the production of the content starts creating new content and then makes it an imperative to change the name, right? So in that need to differentiate, right, to sort of stretch out, we widen the gaze on what it meant to be a Black athlete, which is also strategically what we're thinking in our head, right? Like, we can't write about LeBron's gobsmacking number of triple doubles because ESPN.com and at ESPN and ESPN does that beautifully. But we will tell you, did you know he's running this sort of empire in Hollywood, and you're going to see a lot of him. And why, I tell you, does he think that's more important than some of the basketball work he does? So we started using that as a way to get in, right? And it turned out to be a real unmet need. It was fantastic. And so we kept going and realized it got bigger and bigger. And then, of course, George Floyd and the pandemic happened. Yeah. And basketball showed us, again, through its actions, that the time to be sort of subtle was over. And this sort of way to assert your voice was to just go ahead and use it. And it was just incredibly, and that's when we sort of conceived of the plan. Right then, I'd say concurrent with the birth of the bubble, we also developed a plan to widen our voice. Athletes proved that they were some of the most important levers in the world. Mm-hmm. And we decided we were going to use that to show the whole, the shape and size of the whole lever of Black culture. There's an extraordinary group of young people coming up now, but I call them Zillennials, just to make sure I get everybody, who are all about, I call it all about their ands, because I'm all about that brand marketing. But what it is they're all about their identity, and they will not let themselves be defined by society at large. They actually fight against that. And it is so inspiring that, we're just trying to copy that energy and make sure that when they come to Andscape, they see the ability to see themselves, right? They may, you know what I mean? And it's a site that realizes you are not judged solely by the color of your skin, but you are judged a little bit by the color of your skin. Some places, a lot of it. You know, we're not going to pretend it doesn't exist, but we're also not going to pretend it exists the way they say it exists. Just going to keep it. And it happens, we live in a world where every other word is authenticity. So it helps to be truly authentic in a world looking for it.
Absolutely. And at Andscape, you're listening to not just Black truth, but truths all around the world.
The quote that I love, Martin Luther King said that the universe bends towards justice, but it doesn't bend that way by itself. You know, you have to be behind it, pushing it. And I love that concept that we're pushing that turn towards justice, because but also letting us live our own lives. You know, not everyone needs to feel like some kind of sacrificial symbol to other people seeing us as human, right? Yeah. We are human, and we express that in human ways, and we want to show that humanity, not proof thereof.
You mentioned the notion of being a fighter. You graduated Yale in 92, and then About Face Theater Company, and then Newsweek, and then ESPN the magazine, and then the Undefeated, and now at the top of Andscape. Can you talk to us, and specifically the young Black women that are fighting now for their place, and there's a little struggle that they're going through and trying to get to where they believe they can be?
Well, I got to tell you, if you are like me and maybe a little big in personality and a little sometimes lacking in humility, let me tell you what is naturally humbling, and that is being a Black woman. There is no way that, other than being one, that you can kind of explain the hitherto cultural erasure of Black women, how hidden we have been as hidden figures, and how critical to the world we have been as those hidden figures. And now, you know, but I don't want Black women to be discouraged by that. I want them to feel inspired by that. I'm going to use a piece of content that we all know and love, and that's The Last Dance, right? Michael Jordan burnished that chip until it brought him to burnish the chip on his shoulder until it sprouted wings, right? And so then he was able to do all these things that people had previously told him were impossible. That's what we have to do. You have to just carry it, but you have to carry it lightly. That is not, I know that is not as easy as I make it sound, because I know it's not easy, right? Sometimes you're just not in the mood, and it's kind of relentless, right? But there is a place for you in this world and for your voice. You just have to use it, right? And then you have to keep working to sort of find your folk, right? That you can surround yourself with and do the work that you want to do. I mean, as in the words of the great Whitney Houston, never give up, right? Oh. You don't know that song? That is an amazing song. Never give up, because our strength is unprecedented, and the culture does not give rise to phrases like Black girl magic out of nowhere. You know what I mean? They don't give people cultural attributes without the meaning. And Black girl magic means we make ourselves seen in a world that is built not to see us. That can be frustrating, or you can just choose to sort of put your shoulder down and work against it. I have had points in my career where I have not wanted to do that. I have been exhausted. I have been tired. I have wanted to be something other than what I am, because, you know, I'm like, why do I have to tell these stories? Why don't I get to tell? And then I realized I do get to tell all the stories that are important to me. That's the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work, right? So, for all of us who are inside making the sausage, that little extra thing that you put into a story that makes the story about this or that nuance, that is huge. And somebody is going to pick up that thing that you put in your story that made it a little more inclusive or a little cooler or a little more nuanced or a little more wide ranging. And their lives are literally going to be turned on, sparked by that.
Mm.
But I'm also like, because Black don't crack, you can't tell. I'm 1,000 years old and it's been tough. You know what I mean? There have been times when it just hasn't been cool, right? And you have a lot to do and you feel like you don't have the bandwidth. And why do I have to stand up for every single one of us?
Mm-hmm.
But that's all of us. Do not get discouraged. Keep listening and loving that voice in the back of your head that tells you what you want to do and what you want to be.
I look at the different levels and the points of your career and I'm like, there's no way that could have been easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy. But here, let me tell you what's incredibly helpful. Ego, right? Ego, swag, right? I got this. Not fake it till you make it. There's a difference. But swag, like I can do this. Okay, this might be hella complex. Can I say that?
Yeah.
All right, and something I've never done. But what is it that I'm trying to do? I'm trying to be always on and tell Black stories 24 hours a day, right? On all these platforms. So one decision begets another decision, which begets another decision, which begets sometimes you have to go back and undo something you did, but it's just a willingness to keep walking forward. And when it's about meaning and purpose and the work, you forget, it's funny how this happens. You forget how impossible things can be. Because you're focused, right? Oh, yeah. I'm just going to have this meeting right here where I tell them to do it this way, right? And then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
And, okay, I got clearance. Not done. And then what? And then what? And then what? And then suddenly you look back. This happens all the time in life, right? You look back and you can't believe how far you've gotten, right? Just taking one step in front of the other and not thinking, this is impossible. Just keep doing what it is that you want to do. And, just people dedicating themselves into willing themselves to being what they want to be. Like it's the model, but it's also a model of like one step at a time, and also know your rights. Speak up for yourself. It's tough. It's really sucks. It does, but you got to do it. Do not let other people speak for you. Speak for yourself. Be present.
You're preaching today. I like it. I'm with it. The last question I'll ask, one of the powerful conversations that Andscape is going to get behind and continues the conversation on Black mental health. Can you talk about your strategy in which Andscape will have this conversation that's incredibly delicate?
Well, we're not going to talk about it like we're not all in it, up it, and through it ourselves, right? We are who we're talking to, and something that I'm working on for the future, right, is sort of like what we call the big book of microaggressions, because what nobody ever talks about is these things take a toll. So we just need to express that because the numbers are not in our favor, right? Black men are clearly struggling with the myriad of ways that society sees them and asks them to be, and the danger that they are perpetually under. Black women are struggling with the idea that it is so hard to be seen at all, never mind as be seen to be doing something. And then I gotta absorb all of that. Then you have the normal wear and tear of life. And then you add all this nonsense about we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. No, nobody talks about it. It's an uncomfortable subject for everybody. And it's only now that health and wellness has begun to include making yourself happy. And that's kind of what we wanted to do in Andscape, which was make this a place where you could go and not wince. You just knew you were gonna, like, that's a relief. That's a, like, being able to put some bags down. You know, I'm going to get to go and consume this content that is not going to make me feel that way, you know, which is exhausting, and which is a burden not everybody who is othered in this world has, right? We're going to do a lot of concrete work on it. I just love the strength and courage of Simone Biles. She found that voice at the Olympics. No, not after all of this. It should not be a shock to you that I have the twisties. Oh yeah, that's a real thing. Like, do you know what I mean? And no, you're not going to dissuade me from talking and this, that, and the other thing. And just these, you are going to acknowledge that I'm human and that I have human frailties. And I'm going to ask for empathy if I cannot get sympathy. And it's just or understanding. It's just, we just want to lean into that, because absorbing this all and acting like it doesn't hurt us makes no sense, you know. But the idea of what hits America like a cold hits us like pneumonia takes a toll, and we have to be aware of that.
Now it's time for the Fab Five.
Okay, so first question is, I hear that you're a Whitney Houston fan, and as a Whitney Houston fan myself, this question tells me a lot about you.
Okay.
What is your favorite Whitney song?
Oh, they change all the time. According to Spotify, How Will I Know has been in the top 5 since 2017, which I think is when they began. I listen to a lot of late Whitney. I love $1 Million Bill. I really do. I love that album. I love it. I love it because she has a different attitude.
Yeah.
I don't like, she's like nascent Rihanna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Like she's past caring. Unfortunately, it's too late. Right.
Yeah.
But I also, I find as years go by, I find it harder and harder to listen to the original album, Whitney Houston and Whitney, even though they were my favorites forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's the song I love is Never Give Up. And it's on an album that was released posthumously. And it's a mix. Yeah, it's a strange song, but it's amazing.
What is your talent, singing or dancing?
Dancing. I am a terrible singer. The worst. The worst. I can't care. It's awful. But I love to dance.
So as a Black woman with Black girl magic herself, part of the amazement of it all is the strength that it takes to, like you said, be seen in the world that does everything possible to not see you. Using all that strength is exhausting, and we all need breaks, and we all need time where, we do something that is for us and that lifts us up. What is something that you do to kind of use your strength in something that lifts you rather than drains you?
I call it occupational therapy, which is I become obsessed with a project that's completely outside of my life. So, last year it was, what? Even though I don't do this on Instagram, I'm going to make my pantry look like they look in Instagram. That took like 3 months. It's like just something that's just completely different. Or right now I'm changing my closet over from winter to spring and making a big performative deal out of it because I like clothes a lot. And it's something that gets my mind off of it. I guess what I do is I indulge in guilty pleasures because I don't think of them as guilty pleasures. I think of them as things that make me feel better and let me decompress. I am a big fan of having exactly what you want to eat when you want to eat it. Like to have apple pie for dinner if that's what you want for dinner, right? I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of guilty pleasures.
So next question is, I love your library behind you. What is your favorite book?
Beloved by Toni Morrison.
Oh,
easy. Easy. That is the book. If you do not currently love yourself, that is the book that will teach you to do it. So go read it right now. And the fact that that is her lesson, it starts with you and how you feel about yourself. It's illuminating and warming every time.
That is amazing. I never thought about it like that. Like when you say it, because as women, we're taught a lot to love others and other things and other people, and, but focusing on the self-love and making that the main character of that story,
yes,
was very powerful. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Coffee. So much coffee. Yeah. I mean, all day. Yeah. Like I love it. Like this is the size of my Dunkin' in the morning. So yeah. You're sustainable.
I'm not. I drink coffee at night. So.
Okay. I had to stop that because my other thing that I love, besides guilty pleasures, is I'm really about that sleep. Sleep is so good for you. It's so good for you. To talk about, it's like I feel like it's the most soothing, at risk of sounding depressed, I think it is the most soothing thing a person can do, is to wake up fresh with a clear, strong brain. It's hard to do what we have to do tired. It really is.
You need that recovery. If I don't do anything, I'm gonna sleep. Like, I don't care if it's 15 minutes or an hour, I'm gonna get a good brain rest in.
And you ever have one of those crazy 15-minute naps and you wake up and you're like, I've been asleep for 2 days. What happened?
And then you get a burst of energy. It's a power nap.
Power nap. But you can't just time it right, because if you do it too long, you're ruined. Yeah.
You got to find a sweet spot.
Exactly. But you have to take it. You have to take it. Yeah.
All right, Raina, you survived the Fab Five. Thank you for playing.
That was awesome. I had a blast. I got to do better with the power nap stuff. But
power nap.
You need it.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 small kids that they don't believe in naps. So
so well, that makes it a little harder, but you still got to squeeze in those power naps.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fall asleep directly in front of them.
Standing up.
Stand up to shut it all down.
Shut the eyes. Yeah.
Well, Raina, thank you so much for being a part of the ESPN PRod Pod. It has been phenomenal from the beginning to the end. You taught us so much. For myself, my name is Jon McLeod, and for my producer, Kiki, gotta say thank you so much every single time. Y'all continue to find the ESPN PRod Pod wherever you find your podcast. Thanks, Raina.
Bye. Thank you.